Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Foreigner Footy Files. I'm Natalia Pinkney, and this is episode 15, Windows, Deadlines, and Dreams. So this week, we are going to get into the trenches of signing windows. But before we get into our next topic and next episode, per usual, another poem that is a piece of my path. This poem is titled Dreams. It's a bit shorter this week, but still a good one. As a kid, we've all had a dream. Laying our heads down at night, snuggled in the sheets. But life ain't as peachy as it used to seem. 'Cause when you gain that consciousness, it really be making you want to turn left. Hit that dip and save your sorrows. 'Cause you need mad hope for them better tomorrows. But don't drop your head. Put in that work and it's success ahead. But what's that for me ain't for you. My dreams ain't your dreams. We all do what we gotta do. Sacrifice, blood, sweat, and tears. Running through my obstacles and facing my fears. If there's one thing I know, it's this right here. My dreams be squashing my nightmares. And they are true, bright, and near. Alrighty. One of the biggest time crunches and key elements for international play is signing windows. And I got my first taste of it going from the States to Australia. I didn't really fully grasp what it meant to be in a signing window because as I was contacting the coaches and like a couple of them hit and then, some of them didn't work out, but obviously Australia did. As I was speaking to the head coach of South at the time, and I'm trying to figure out when I would get there. And because he was so adamant about wanting me to get there, and we already knew I was wanted and I was going, it was just a matter of when and how. So I didn't really have the full weight of what it meant to get everything in on time, be signed to a team on time prior to leaving the States. When I got to Australia, I definitely had a better idea considering after I left South, I think I only had like a couple weeks left to trade teams. But I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, because I was already signed to South, technically. And no, not technically, I was. Because I was signed to South and registered into the league. Me switching teams, I don't believe was an issue. Again, I could be wrong. I do think it matters, but in like a different way. And I'll get to some stuff later on about why I'm a little bit conflicted about that, because comparing it to Germany's system and how things have worked with me in the past couple of years, I'm not exactly sure how it works in terms of the league, right? So you have to be registered within the league to be able to play for a team. I'm not sure if my general registration under South allowed me to just be fully registered within the league in Australia to be able to team hop. I'm also fairly certain because it was semi-pro and not pro, it might have been a little bit different of a system. So that is what I believe to be correct about Australia. But before I even get into my personal endeavors and experiences with signing windows, for y'all that don't know, I'm going to explain what a signing window even is. So, there are two within every season. Each country, league around the world has their own signing window. Like the leagues set them basically, and the countries that fall within leagues, those countries have those set windows and deadlines. Australia literally being on the opposite side of the world and having opposite seasons, their signing windows are a bit different. They happen at different times, but generally it's summer, winter. And typically everyone has the same summer, winter, like I said, except for Australia being opposite, but they got to be different. They own their own shit. So here in Europe, the beginning of the signing window typically starts around June, July, and goes until, I would say the latest that I've heard is about mid-September for this side of the world. That is what I have been told. As I said, I don't know every country, but the ones that I have played in and the ones that I have teams playing in, the signing windows were typically ending end of August, beginning of September. Like I said, there's a few that go a few weeks into September, but that's the latest that I've heard of, other than with Australia. The second signing window is halfway through the season. So, as I said, the first one is around summertime. That's typically when the seasons begin. You have another one halfway through. I believe the windows typically open up around December, January time, and they typically close around February, beginning and maybe beginning of March. Again, those are what I've experienced and what I am aware of for signing windows. There is obviously a set amount of time that you have to find a team, register with the league, and be ready to go before the season begins. If you miss the first one, obviously there is the second one. And you may use the second one for various of reasons, or the first one for various of reasons. It all depends on when you're starting your journey, how your journey is going. Are you staying with your team? Are you changing teams? Did you miss the window? All of that comes into effect, and we will get into all of that. So a big part for me about not having an agent is having to understand all these deadlines and windows and different countries and how they work. That's something that I was not 100% educated on. Beginning my journey, I didn't really need an agent or all that information for it. Then going to Switzerland was done a bit differently and not conventional. And then I got an agent while I was in Switzerland. He took care of my trade to Israel. And then I'm not going to spoil much of the folders and files for later. But yeah, then I had to switch again and blah, blah, blah. So now officially not having an agent and most likely not going back to having one unless something changes in my career that's drastically requiring one, or if an agency really feels that compelled to reach out to me and it seems like good stuff, then maybe. But as of right now, very much representing myself. And having to teach myself all these things is super interesting because from a player looking at an agent's job, not to take away from it, but we really only see the results of what they do, whether good or bad work. So offers, cancellations, communications, all those things are typically the agent's job. Me being my own agent, now I gotta know all that shit myself. And it's good though. I actually really enjoy having to teach myself these things because whether you have an agent or not, it's really best to not rely on other people to have all the answers for you and to know everything about your situation. So if you've looked at 5 different countries that you're really interested in, look at all the signing windows, first and second one. I would even go as deep as to looking into teams that utilize the second signing window a lot. So teams that are not opposed to bringing in players halfway through the season, because there are teams who are very okay with sticking with what they got. There are other teams that are more than happy to change it up if it ain't flowing right. That's very much a coach managerial varying situation. You're not going to know until you get there, until you contact them. But that is why I say always shoot for the stars and always go for it, because you don't know what a team or a club or a manager is willing to change, look into, or be interested in. The crazy thing is with windows is that they are both too long and not long enough, right? So for me, I've had the beautiful combination of feeling both sides of that teeter-totter within one signing window several times, where it started out and I'm like, I got plenty of time. I got like 2 months, I'm going to get a team. Ain't no stress, ain't no worry. Then about halfway through without a team or a signing, you're like, oh shit, only got a month left. And at this point, if you're keeping up with other teams and other players and things like that, you're seeing the signings come in. If you're checking Instagram, you're checking Facebook, you're checking all the websites, you're seeing when clubs are signing new people, So you hit the halfway mark and you're like, okay, I still need something, but there's always options. And so then when you hit the in the last month of the window is when you really start to feel how it doesn't seem long enough. And it makes you feel like, well, shit, what do we even have signing windows for? And I understand why they exist, because you can't just give everybody ample amount of time to just cherry pick the best players from around the world and take them when you want, give them away when you want. It protects both the players, the teams, and the integrity of the leagues, because it's basically saying, like, get your best team together within this time window and do with it what you will. And that's why they give a second one. You know, you need to make changes. You found somebody out. Somebody wants to move. Somebody came up in the league. You got a second chance to improve your team. You know what I'm saying? So I get why windows are there. I understand why there's a limit on the time and everything like that. But at the same time, it's like, for me as a player, it's like, damn, can we just like have pre-approval by the league through like paperwork and junk? And then when you find a team, just like hop to it. You know, it would be super simple and easier that way, but not how life works. And the even crazier thing is, in women's football at all levels, it's chaos. It is absolute chaos in signing windows. I have had personal experiences from semi-pro level to professional level. Friends who have dealt with it at a pro level internationally as well. And it just always seems to be, even in the most organized of countries, in the most organized and well-known and established leagues, rich clubs, poor clubs, it doesn't matter. There is always something with signing windows, whether it's the bureaucracy of the country, paperwork, eligibility, being released from your former team in time, your new team having everything ready to go for you in time. It's always a lot. And until you get everything signed, sealed, delivered, I'm yours. Until you get everything done, it just feels like a chaotic what if at all times, and a clicking, a ticking clock that just won't stop, and it doesn't wait up for you. And it's kind of frustrating, I guess, to feel like the higher the level, it's still happening, that the problems are still there, because you would hope with a more established and dominating leagues that there is a very clear outline system that is always functioning. And technically it is. Like, I feel at the football level, it's quite simple, black and white, straight to the point. You got a signing window. You've got until this date to register your player. Get it done. Now, as I said, each country has its own things. Here in Germany, you have to have certain things done or in play for the visa, for your registration to be accepted by the league. So here in Germany, you need to have, at the very least, an appointment booked for your visa to be legally registered and be a resident in this country, to be registered in the leagues. I'm not sure how it goes everywhere else. I would assume it's the same or similar. Before the window closes, just have some type of proof or registration or completed visa document that shows that you are not going to be there illegally, because the leagues have to also, abide to the country laws and rules. And if you need a visa, you need a visa. Point blank. Unfortunately, no way around that one. I wish. But since I've started this journey, I've dealt with it at all different levels and in a lot of different ways, of the last minute hopes and prayers and Hail Marys, working until the very first day that the window started networking, not starting to network until the middle of a window. I've done it all. I've done all versions of the window extravaganza, and I can say that almost none of them, me personally, this is a personal thing, almost none of them have turned out stress-free. Like, I don't think that there has been a single signing window, other than going to Israel, where my manager handled that one, where I think because I wasn't personally dealing with all of the things, I didn't have to have the conversations and deal with the paperwork, and I had to give some of my personal information, but I wasn't handling anything. So it felt stress-free. It felt like it was a super easy process because I wasn't doing it. But every situation and signing window that I personally had to deal with on my own, stressful. And you hope it gets easier, but there's always something. Like, there's really always something that comes up. And I've seen, heard, experienced all types of scenarios. I've had friends who have said, everything's all ready to go. Team wants me. I'm even here. I've moved there. And my visa still isn't approved, so I can't touch the field. Or you've got, my visa's approved. I'm here. I'm ready to go. But this, that, and the third isn't ready to go. Or, anything under the sun. There's just always something that pops up, and it just causes extra stress and extra worry, and all we want to do is ball. All we want to do is play football, and it just seems like there is just some type of bureaucratic political bullshit in the way of that. And since every country and league has their own set window, it does give you a lot of options. I do have to say, there are plenty of variables that you can play with. What's the weather you want to live in? Do you want to be in a more tropical area? Do you want to be in an area that has all 4 seasons? Do you want to be in an area that's cold all the time? Do you want to be in Europe? Do you want to be in the Middle East? Do you want to be in America? Do you want to be in Australia? You have all these options, all these countries, and all these windows to choose from. So I do have to say, it is nice that there's a large variance and time for windows, because it does give you a lot of options. So say, for instance, you wanted to go for a country and a club and a team, and you missed the window for whatever reason, and you got another country on your list, and their window doesn't close for another 3 weeks. You got 3 weeks to find another team. So it does come in handy when, you do have multiple layers of options and you're looking into different areas, and sometimes the timelines work out. Sometimes they do not work in your favor, and you got to figure out how to maneuver yourself and figure out next steps. But with that being said, when starting from scratch in a country, it's a bit different. And as I said, and as I mentioned before, there's typically 2 windows per season. Obviously, my first experience being within Australia, next was Switzerland, which is a very unique experience, going there for school first. And then football was second. So I said, I had to go through it in a completely different way, but I still had to register with my team, even though I went in there on the second team and not the first team to begin with. So at all levels, semi-pro, professional, especially as a foreigner, you got to get in that registration. You got to get in there before the window closes. And it's something you want to make sure all your documents are in a row. Have your passport always on hand, but in a safe place. Your ID's ready to go. If you need any form of financial security, have your bank statements ready to go. These are just things that you want to have all lined up and ready for your clubs and your managers, so that they can just input all your information as fast as possible and get you registered and ready to play. Because once that's out of the way, you can do the rest of the stuff that's needed if extra steps need to be taken. But one thing stays consistent no matter what. If you like me, you gonna stress. Like, I have never been able to go in or out of a signing window without having an almost breakdown or having a breakdown. That is just my personal experience. I have almost never had a smooth time with it. And, every deadline that comes closer every season, my heart starts to race. A lot of that is due to the fact that I have not stayed with one team for more than one season since Australia. And that is something that I would like to change. It's not due to anything malicious or bad or anything like that. A lot of sticky stuff, I can say, and I'll get to them when I get to those folders and files. But most of the time, it was a very cordial, two-way street of like, yeah, this is not where I want to be next season. This is not for me. It's time for me to find something new. So I just have not been in the experience of doubling up or tripling up on a season with a team other than Logan in Australia. So I mean, I haven't gone into a window feeling secure. I haven't gone into a window already re-signed. And I think that that's something I would really like to experience. Um, I'm hoping that it's for me in the future. But from my experiences, I have hot skipped and jumped to different places, which has been a blessing and also a bit of a curse in itself. And it's definitely given me experience with deadlines and windows. I know what the hell I'm talking about. I know, at least in the countries that I've lived in, how the system works and how to stay ahead of it, which is, I'm very grateful to have gained experience and lived through some learning lessons and ups and downs of all levels of what it means to be a professional football player, from the playing aspect to the bureaucracy and the politics and the travel. I'm very much becoming well-rounded in the easiest ways now, but becoming well-rounded and a more experienced player. And so I'm thankful for that. I'm very thankful and blessed for that. Let me see. Y'all, when I tell you this little flip book where I keep my notes be tearing me up. Like, I almost never know where to flip. Anyway. Now, I can confidently say I have always been anxious about windows and finding teams and moving on or staying. I personally have always been that way. As I explained for my situation, there's a reason why. But I have a personal bias of signing windows being a very hectic and scary and stressful time. They don't need to be. They don't have to be. Even with everything that I've been through, I can see that had I had more experience or information, it probably could have been a bit easier for me. At the same time, I'm also realizing that there's a lot that I can't do as a player in these windows. There's some things that just are on the management, they're on the club, they're on the country, whatever. It's out of my hands. But let's be real. Any deadline in general is going to get me stressed. So it ain't, just with signing windows. It just gets me in a tizzy. That's just how I am. But something about this particular time of the season gets me the most. And this brings me to a subtopic that I want to get into about comparing careers. And I'm speaking in terms of yourself to others. This is step one of going insane during a signing window. You will see 1, 2, 3, maybe all of your friends posting online, posting on Facebook, posting on Instagram, writing on Twitter, messaging in your group chats. There's always, you're going to see people getting signed to new teams. Always. Especially when you've been in the international football world for almost 6 years like me. You have made teammates and friends and you've gathered contacts. And if you're on social media, you're going to see other people's success. You're going to see their signings. You're going to see them switching teams or staying with teams. It's an inevitable part of being a part of the football community. Congratulate them. Never hate. And your fate is not their fate. I'm going to say it again. Congratulate, never hate, and your fate is not their fate. Okay? You cannot look at someone else's blessing or future and feel salty or hate towards them or judge, whatever. That's not going to help your career. That's not something that's going to boost you. It's not going to make the clubs want you. It's not going to make you get an answer any faster if you're waiting for one. It's not going to get you a trial. It's not going to help you perform better at your trial. There's no reason to not feel happy for your fellow players in the league, especially in a dog-eat-dog world of football. Us as women, we got to support each other and be happy for each other. Speak about each other's successes. Like, yeah, my girl just made it to another high league. Go ahead, girl. Switch teams. Made it up there in Europe. That's what we want to see. Your friends or teammates or whatever making their teams and signing their contracts, if you haven't yet, or if you're not happy where you are, hating on them and putting nasty energy towards them and seeing other people's, come ups, it doesn't do anything for you. it's just going to weigh you down. It's going to make you continue to compare yourself like, oh, if that was me, if I had that opportunity, if I got to trial for that team, or if I would have known about it sooner, or if I would have known about it and not them. Don't do that. Don't do that shit. Because, as I said, it's rule number one of driving yourself insane. You have no control in someone else's life and vice versa. And as I said, their fate is not your fate and your fate is not their fate. So what is for them is for them. Be happy. And, whatever comes for you, be happy in that and live in that. Comparing will only lead to a spiral because you're just going to see 1, 2, 3. You're like, oh my God, how many people can be on team? It's just going to make you feel shitty. You're going to feel behind. You may feel left out. You may feel inept or bad or whatever negative things that it makes you feel comparing yourself to other players and other people. It's not worth it. And it's not going to change your situation. It doesn't take away from the fact that this is some hard shit. Like being in the football world and having as many former teammates as I have. Personally, I follow a lot of women players and I see in every signing window, signed a new team, blessed, new jersey, new colors, new country, this and that. And like men too. I follow a lot of men players as well. I've met a lot of amazing players from both sides of it over the years. And every time I see someone else posting about moving on or going somewhere or finding new roots, I'm like, yeah, good for you. Let's go. That's how we do, okay? The people that I rock with, we rock, okay? We be balling. Keep that energy up. Support each other, men, women, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, make sure that we are uplifting each other because taking away from someone else's happiness, not going to do much for you. And blinders to the social media people, I think that's the biggest thing of just like, don't absentmindedly scroll through and just like bullshit people. I'm like, congrats. Like, don't leave a comment if you don't mean it. Don't be hard-eyeing and flames and you go girl. Don't do that if you don't mean it. Don't be that person. But, make sure you are acknowledging, at least in yourself internally for a hot second, like, good for them. Good for them. You can keep scrolling. You don't have to double tap if you don't want. But just keep pure in your heart when you see good things happening for other people. Because someone made it to a team or is playing somewhere, and maybe even be a team or in a country that you really wanted to go to, but you don't know if that would have been good for you. You don't know if that was the next step for you. So just remember to not hate on somebody else. It don't get you nowhere. But missing a deadline or a window is not the end of your career. And this is something that my sister has had to help me come to terms with every time I got close to a deadline. Because I'm telling y'all, if you keep up with the folders and the files, when I get back to them, as the stories go on, you'll hear how close I've cut it to some windows and deadlines. And she always asked me in the midst of my stress and my panics and breakdowns, sister, what is the worst thing that happens if you miss this window? And I would say, I have to wait 5-6 months before I can play again. Okay. And then what? And it would always put me into perspective of I never forced myself to ask and then what, because I refused to miss the window. I refused to miss the deadline. It was never an option because that was for me like, I'm behind, it's not good, or it's a failure, whatever. But we as players need to remember, as I said, there's things outside of our control. Being good at football and teams wanting you is only one leg in that race. You got to get all the other stuff in order for it to complete, come to fruition, and for you to play. And sometimes you do everything that you can do and it still doesn't work out. But it's not the end. It's a pause. It's a hold up. It's a wait. But it's not a failure. And it's not the end. And as I said, what's meant for you will come for you. And for better or for worse, whatever that means, your next opportunity is only going to come for you. So stay fit, stay ready, stay hopeful, stay in contact, stay persistent. This is all if you miss the window or the deadline. Within the windows and the deadlines, if things are going well, stay in contact with your teams and your managers. Make sure that you have all the information that you need. Make sure that you're getting copies of your legal paperwork. Because my experience here, I had to get information from, the government and things like that from my old team. And a lot of them I had on myself. I had on my person. I had the copies. And had I not taken good care of my paperwork and my things, might not be in a good situation right now as a foreigner. So make sure you have all your documents and everything, your ducks in a row, so that when a manager or a club or the government is requesting something from you, you have it. Be prepared. We all have big dreams and expectations about playing overseas for those of us who want it, right? Like the second you decide, I'm leaving home, I'm going overseas, I'm going to play pro, I'm doing it in another country, that's that big dream energy. That's that I'm on it. You know what I'm talking about? And as much as it's a beautiful opportunity to play, as I said, there are politics and bureaucracy that we can't, control much of. And to be honest, one of my dreams is a deep system change. An ideal, perfect world for sports and professional sports players to have like a specific visa system for international players, because sports being a job is so unique, and not a lot of people get that opportunity to get paid a livable wage to play a sport, to have that be their actual one and only profession. I think the visa system should also reflect that. I think that there should be just certain ways to make it a bit simpler. I think that there should be ways that it is kind of isolated from the regular system. I don't know. Obviously, I'm biased because I would really just wish that everything could be simpler. But I just think that sports players coming into a country specifically for like it is a seasonal job, right? It's a different situation than just coming somewhere for a working visa. We have different guidelines, we have different timelines, we have different requirements and demands. So yeah, I think that maybe a slight visa change in the system would be interesting. It'd be very interesting. I don't think it's a must. It's not like the system's completely shattered and broken. It's just not exactly easy or accommodating. So, we as players, we always hope that everything works out, and you want to have the best case scenario. You want to make that team, you want to get on that plane, you want to go, and you want to move. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. But the best thing that you can do is just be knowledgeable about what that situation is going to entail, and especially depending on where you want to go, does the place you're going to accommodate to the language that you're native to or can speak? If you're going somewhere where there is not a chance in hell that you're going to be able to communicate with anybody unless they speak your language fluently, or, they're on the staff, as in the average person in the city or town that you're living in, if they have no shot of speaking the languages that you know, another reason to really educate yourself on how the system works over there, because you don't want any surprises, especially when you've already gotten off the plane and you've left home. No surprises. Not ideal. Nothing hurts more, though, than when your dream is not, I don't want to say it's not reached, when your dream is a bit disrupted by something that you didn't do, as in paperwork wasn't filed fast enough, or something wasn't received, or someone at a higher level that's above your pay grade didn't do their job, and now you can't play. Nothing crushes you more than that. And I think a lot is out of your control, and unfortunately, extra noise in an already loud situation is never what you want. But you just have to be confident and sure that you are going into every situation the most prepared that you yourself can be. So that way, when push comes to shove, if something doesn't work out, no one can ever say that you weren't on your P's and Q's and your ones and twos. You know what I'm saying? Cover your back. Look out for yourself. Always protect you first. Because like any job, whether it's sports or not, you can be replaced. And sports are a bit different because you have a bit of a deeper bond. It's obviously team play, and there's a bit of a different emotional factor to it. But like any other job, you can be replaced. So look out for you. Have respect and obviously put your heart in, when you make a team and you get there and you're playing for them, do your thing. But until things are solid, look out for you and take care of you. Signing windows are definitely something you should become familiar with. And as stressful as they can be, luckily they are regularly updated and available to search online. I don't exactly know off the top of my head the name of the website that I use for the signing windows, but I know that I'm able to go into my web browser. I'm just going to do it right now while we here, y'all. So let's go in. What is the name of the website? So it is digitalhub.fifa.com. And that is where at least I have been able to see where the signing windows are for which countries, when they begin, when they end. And there's even like updates where like in red, it's typically an updated deadline or window date. So yeah, head on over to the website. If this is your awakening to realize that you want to make it for the winter signing window for Europe or the next signing window for whatever country you want to go to, get on over there and check out the windows and get yourself prepared. Look into all your options because they got everybody on that website. Everybody. But this brings me to my next segment. I wish I knew that. So I wish I knew how to work the windows earlier. Like, when I say work the windows, I mean, you got to be able to work this system as a system tries to work you. Know what countries start when and when they end. Get yourself equipped to all the information that you need and use it to your advantage. If you notice that one of the teams that you're really into is lacking in their defense and you're a defender, hit them up and let them know about a month out, 2 months out from the window, hey, I'm interested in your team. I'm a defender. I have these skills. Work yourself up, talk yourself up. Don't be shitting on them teams now. Don't be going in their inbox talking about I've been watching you play and da-da-da-da-da is garbage. Don't be doing that. But let them know what they need. You know what I'm saying? Work the system. Watch these teams. Watch the leagues. Look what's necessary. And then when you've got the time to shoot your shot, shoot it. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, okay? Now, this leads me to the next one. Trust me on this one. So trust me, whether you are just starting or looking to change teams, contact these clubs, as I said, a month or two before the windows. Before they close, before they open. Keep in contact. Keep hounding them until they close. Because, like I said, I wish I knew how to work this system better. So trust me when I say, get in the inbox 1 or 2 months early, right? You may establish some conversation. They may say, we'll get back to you. We don't know right now. We need some time. Check back in again in a month. You know what I'm saying? Hop up on their radar and stay on their radar. Be ready to be up in their ear. I say keep going until that window is closed because teams will sign last minute. If you have all your stuff ready to go, if it is possible to be signed within a week, teams will sign within a week if they want you bad enough. So don't let up. Get in their ear. You see you got 2 weeks until a certain country and a certain league closes. Hit them up. You have no idea. They could be scraping in the last 2 weeks, praying that somebody of your stature that plays your position hits their inbox. You don't know until you try. So trust me, stay on that ass. Be in their inboxes, contacts, find numbers, emails, go everywhere. Find any way that you can. Their team websites, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, doesn't matter. Former players, hit anybody up and just get in their ear for these signing windows. Make them realize that they want you and they need you before they even start looking for somebody else. Trust me. Now, if anybody has any questions about today's topic, like windows, deadlines, all that stuff, or really anything else, hit me up in my DMs, Instagram and the email. That concludes this episode. I didn't even sign up the episode, y'all. I just jumped right into the hit me in my DMs. So thank you for joining me on another episode of Footy Files. You know what to do. Like, rate, review. Hit me up in my DMs for any suggestions, feedback. You just want to holler at me. Whatever, comments, you know what to do. Instagram is Foreigner Footy Files. The Gmail is foreignerfootyfiles@gmail.com. You can try and hit me up in my private Instagram and Pinky, no promises. Yeah, that about does it. Keep your dreams alive, y'all. Keep shooting for it. Stay persistent. The window is open and all you gotta do is jump through it. Okay, running head start. Jump through that window and make those teams because you're good enough and you're worth it. But yeah, thank you again, y'all, for joining me. Check back in 2 weeks and let's kick it together. Bye, y'all.